In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the best content strategies for YouTube that the biggest business creators are using in the space. Now, these are the exact same strategies that they are using to maximize their revenue for selling info products like coaching, courses, mentorships, and other digital products. Now, how exactly we're going to be determining which type of content strategies are the best for you to go ahead and use is going to be based off of these three things. Number one, the reach. Number two, the selling power. And number three, the difficulty. Now, after we go ahead and review these content strategies based off of these three things, then we're going to go ahead and put them into a category. Either buy your Ferrari now, which obviously that means buy your Ferrari, and you should probably be using these type of content strategies up here. Number two, proven to print money. It's going to work. Definitely, you're going to make a ton of money from these content strategies. Number three, it works. Why not? You're not going to lose anything on it. Number four, give it a shot. Why not? It could work. It might not work. Give it a shot. You don't know, right? And then number five, don't get your hopes up, little bro. So you can try it, but don't expect anything, my boy. And then number six, you're cooked. So we want to stay away from you're cooked as much as possible. If you don't want to stay away from you're cooked, then you're already going to be cooked. So anyways, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the very first type of content that we are going to go over is raw content. This is basically when you create a YouTube video with no real thumbnail. You kind of use a basic title or a really, really intriguing title. The video is usually unedited, it's unscripted, and you kind of just go off of vibe. So who this video is for, creating this type of content, I would say people with existing authority. That's a big thing right there, existing authority. I'll get into that in a second. People with great personalities, and then those with results to share. So let's look at this real quick. Brett Scales, he has authority in the space. He has already cemented who he is online. So when he posts a raw video like this, people are going to watch it. He's in a position where majority of the population, majority of people online would want to be in. So they're going to want to watch a video, what he's going through, a glimpse of his life. How is he doing it? I want to be like that too. So they're going to be intrigued to actually watch this video, whether it's edited or it's not. Same thing with Pierre. He actually is from the same place that I am from. Went to the same high school, same soccer team. Shout out to him. He's a fucking killer. William Brown, same exact thing. Dude is a multi-millionaire. You can see in the background, he is in Dubai. People are going to watch videos that they are making because they're in positions and they have their authority already set pretty much on the plane. They can post whatever, regardless if it's raw or it's edited, and people are going to watch it. Same thing with Sam Solik. It's different. He doesn't teach money. He teaches fitness. All of my big buff, homies, no homo, right? They watch Sam Solik because he's just something that they want to be, right? Of course, you could talk about how he's not really natty and, he's unhealthy and etc. But keeping it on the basis of people who create the best type of raw content, right? They need to have authority or results to share. If you don't, you're going to be a nobody creating a piece of raw content, which is fine. It can work, right? But you need to give somebody a reason to watch your videos, right? If somebody doesn't have a reason, they're not going to waste time and watch your entire video to figure out if it was a good video or not, right? So you want to have either your social media, your Instagram, your YouTube, right? Set up in a place. You want to have videos already teaching about what you do, videos about, how I made 15K, 20K, 30K plus, right? You want to have some type of authority in your industry or your space, no matter how big you are, in order for this type of content to actually work. Now, the keys to success with raw content, number one, already having an established personal brand. That's going to help you out a ton. Again, your authority is already established. Number two, solid speaking skills to retain attention. That's going to be a good one. Raw content, it's just you and the camera, right? You need to go ahead and make sure that people are actually interested in what you're saying and what you're doing. Number three, extremely strong title. This, you see it up here, a glimpse of my life making 300K month of profit. Like, I'm going to watch that video, right? For anybody that wants to make that amount of money, they're going to watch that video. And then number four, accept that you might just get lucky. If you're somebody that doesn't have a ton of results and you're kind of just posting a raw video talking about something, how you want to make $1 million or you're planning to make $1 million or something like that, you might just get lucky. If it does good, awesome. I want the best for you. I wish the best for you. But in reality, it's most likely not going to happen if you don't already have your content cemented for yourself already. So with raw content, the reach, it's no really guarantee. It's kind of 50-50. It depends if you already have a established personal brand or you already have content that's already doing really well, then I would go ahead and do some raw content. That's completely fine. Again, if you have results that other people would want, do it all day long, right? If not, like 90% of people, I would kind of stay away from it just because you want to create other pieces of content before you start posting this type of raw content, beforehand. Selling power isn't that great either. It's okay. The only thing that I would say with raw pieces of content is that you're building trust, because when somebody watches a 20, 25, 30-minute video of you just yapping, just literally you talking to the camera, no edits, no nothing, then that's extremely powerful in terms of building trust, building authority with them, and just really getting your audience to know, like, and trust you. If you can do that, I think this type of content, the raw content, will compound onto different types of content that we'll get into later on. And I think that's super valuable valuable, I think that's amazing. So for this type of video, selling power is not good. I truly do believe you should be posting this type of content for it to compound into other various videos with obviously an actual high intent to sell your audience on. And then the third thing, difficulty, obviously it's not hard at all. You just gotta put the camera on and just start yapping, right? So overall, I'm gonna say give it a shot. Why not? I think it's worth it giving it a shot, but you need to have authority in the space. You have to have made 10K, 20K, 15K in your industry minimum for somebody to want to watch a video like that. Or you just want to be in a position where you can actually speak about something and people are willing to listen, right? So that's why I'm going to put it in and give it a shot. Now, the next piece of content is live breakdown. This is pretty much unscripted, but very structured types of content. Usually it's a screen share demonstration or something like a live walkthrough of your systems or, processes, anything involving your business that you want to showcase. So for example, you have Alex Hormanzi pretty much breaking down the email campaign that generates him a ton of sales. That's a very easy example of a live breakdown. Or you can have another, example of a live breakdown, which is TGR, basically trading. Okay. This can just be, it's not just like, hey, these are my systems. No, it can also be you actually doing the thing. If your business is something like trading, right? And you can actually show your live trades in real time, do that all day long. That live breakdown is super, super, super important and valuable. And it really does move the needle from getting your audience to not trust you, not know who you are, to, getting to know, like, and trust you, and then being comfortable with buying your high ticket program. And then of course, the same thing overall with just showcasing your systems, showcasing how you're making your money, how you're doing certain things inside of the business. Because number one, with live breakdowns, you're simply teaching other people how to do something. And that's extremely valuable for somebody who just has no idea. So I love this type of content. It's very, very awesome. It's very good, especially if you're a trader. Again, this is for people who can, showcase their work pretty easily. And then the keys to success for this type of video, for these types of video, is you want to use frequent visual intrigue. Always showcase, something's happening on the screen, just like this video or this video up here. Trading, something's always happening as well. Number two, you want to explain as you demonstrate. So it's not just, words on a screen. You want to go a lot more in depth. You want to make sure that the audience has extra information to completely understand exactly the point that you're trying to convey. Number three, you want to keep your cursor and annotations moving, kind of like what I've been doing this entire video with my cursor and then kind of just highlighting different things. You want to do the exact same thing for these types of videos. And then you want to keep it structured around one core idea. Now you can have one or two, that's fine, but keeping it very, very direct towards a specific topic, that's usually going to do a lot better. Now with the reach for the live breakdowns, I would say that, these can actually get you a really big audience, a really big reach of a ton of people who want to learn. Of course, this is going to be primarily a lot of in-market buyers. So your ICP, you're going to be attracting more of your ICP than kind of just a bigger, broader audience who doesn't know what you're doing, which is a great thing. That's what you would rather focus on, having quality followers, quality views than, a bunch of views, which is, it's fine. It just depends on the strategy, of course, but I would say reach is pretty awesome with these. Selling power is fantastic. People who watch your breakdown videos, who understand step by step how you do something, is not only going to trust you way more, but it's going to get them to like you because you're giving them valuable information that then they're going to use to make money, right? And then it's just going to get them to know you. And from there, when somebody knows, likes, and trusts you, they're going to buy your thing. So the selling power is super, super strong. And then difficulty, it's honestly not too hard. If you're just demonstrating something that you already know, it might take a little bit time to actually set up. If you're trading, you're going to be fine because you're just, you're trading the markets. But for anything else, it might take a little bit of time. But most definitely, it's not hard at all. So if you can master this type of content, go ahead and buy your Ferrari already. Again, because of the reach, the correct reach, right? You're targeting the right audience. The selling power is amazing, right? And then the difficulty, it's not hard to do. If you can do a bunch of these, you will buy a Ferrari. You're going to make a ton of money. And that's why TGR in specific is so successful, because he posts, I don't know how many videos of him just trading, and he gets thousands and thousands of views. Now, the very next thing are vlogs. This is something a lot of people love watching. This is something that a lot of people actually have fun recording. And yeah, getting into it, it's pretty much just a POV of your daily life, day in the life format type of video. This is usually you demonstrating your lifestyle just in general, what you do from a day-to-day basis. This is showcasing behind the scenes content, you working, you actually in the trenches, you doing stuff that you don't showcase on camera on your usual videos. And then most of the time when you're vlogging, people want to showcase as much as possible your wealth or your status, or, display what you have, right? So for example, Brez over here, you have all of the cars, same thing over here, same thing over here. Now, there's not a lot of cars in this video. I mean, there is a lot of cars in this video, but you're always showcasing something high status or making a ton of money or just high income income in general. Daniel Dalen, he showcases more of the lifestyle, which is really, really cool. And inside of his vlogs and inside of his videos, there's a lot of wealth in there. It's a lot of subtle wealth, but overall, it's really cool. You want to showcase an awesome lifestyle that other people would want to go ahead and live themselves. Now, who is this for? This is usually for B2C course sellers and coaches. Of course, those who are targeting beginner/consumers to, of course, get into their business model. This is going to be for a lot broader audience. And I don't really recommend it for B2B just because from a business owner to a business owner, you don't really care about vlogs or somebody's day, right? You want to learn what's going to make a difference inside of your business and how you're going to make more money. So vlogs, I would stay away from it if you're a B2B or if your offer is B2B. But if you were somebody who is doing B2C, which is 90% of people, most definitely do vlogs. I think they'll do great. But again, you need to have authority in the space. And I would say you don't have to be a very big creator or big coach, right? Or somebody big online, but you need to have social proof. You need to have results that other people would want to live, and then vlogs would do good. So the keys to success: you want to have a genuinely interesting lifestyle, showcase high status activities. You want to balance lifestyle with value content inside of your vlogs. What do I mean by that? Something that I mean by that, right? Breast scales, right? When you watch this video, you're not going to want to learn how to start freelance brand scaling, right? You want to be entertained. You want to watch the sick lifestyle, the vlog, or not the vlogs, the cars, watches, these crazy dinners, everything, right? But inside of these vlogs, inside of these videos, and I know this because I've watched them, he will go ahead and give you little gems, little scenes, right? Of him working on his business, on him, joining group calls inside of his mentorship, inside of his inner circle. And subconsciously, without you even knowing, he takes you along his day, him popping on calls, him helping out his students, right? Which obviously is true. I'm not saying that's fake, but he's doing that very intentionally. He's hooking you in with the entire video. And then with little sprinkles inside of the video, he is very intentional about this, but he's making you unintentionally want to get into his business model, his mechanism, which of course, behind the scenes, he's selling it to you in the very long run. So that is exactly what I mean with balanced lifestyle and with value. It's huge. If you can do this, you're going to make a ton of money. Hence why Brez is scaling up like crazy. And then number 4, show a lifestyle others would want to live. Now, with the reach for vlogs, they do extremely well. Usually for a lot of unsophisticated markets, or if you have a really unsophisticated audience, I would 100% recommend doing some vlogs. The reach is amazing. So there you go with that. The selling power, it's not strong at all. You're not selling with vlogs. I would argue, if anything, it's another compounding type of video that eventually, in other videos where the intent is to sell, then it would work out like that. But specifically for vlogs, is not strong at all. Difficulty, believe it or not, it's actually pretty hard to make vlogs. It's hard to make a really high quality and entertaining vlog. It takes up a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of planning, unless you're somebody like Breast Scales on the come up, it's going to be a little bit easier. But overall, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put this, don't get your hopes up, little bro. And you might be surprised by that, but honestly, with the reach, yes, you're going to get a lot of people that watch your content, but selling power, it's not high. Difficulty, it's really difficult to make. It takes a lot of effort. So in order to have a really good, compelling video, it's a lot of effort. You're not going to get too much out of it. At least for most people, if you're somebody with a bigger audience and you have a lot more authority in the space, like, Pierre, or maybe somebody like TGR, go ahead, do it. I would rank it over here to Proven to Print. But for most people, I'm going to put it, don't get your hopes up, little bro. You can try it. Now, the very next thing are the free courses. Now, something everybody knows and loves, in the beginning of your entrepreneur journey, all of us have consumed something along the nature of a free course. Now, what are these? These are pretty much multi-hour comprehensive trainings, or it's a simpler video about, a quote unquote A through Z roadmap. And I say that because a lot of the times for these free courses, they don't tell you how to do something. If they do, it's very minimal. They tell you the what. So when you're making these free courses, just a little gem, sell the what, so people know what to do, what to make, right? What things to do to get to that next level, but don't sell them the how. The implementation is where you sell them on the course, on your mentorship, on your coaching. That's exactly how you're going to make a ton of money. So that's why I put the little, quotation marks with the A through Z roadmap. But anyways, these are very structured, and then it's pretty much an evergreen sales asset. Now, who is this for? It's pretty much for anybody with significant results. Again, significant results, meaning big authority, course creators, coaches, consultants, which of course is all of you guys who are watching this video right now. And then those with proven systems and strategies to teach. So again, you need to have authority in the space to make something like a free course. If you don't have any results, if you don't have anything to showcase, if you can't prove, your worth in the industry or in your niche, nobody's going to watch something like this because you're not above them. You're not higher than them. They're not perceiving you as somebody to search for help, right? You don't have anything that they technically want yet, so it's not going to work out. But again, if you are somebody who has results, you establish yourself in your niche, or you have results to showcase to thus establish yourself later on with the, the content that you're going to continuously be putting out, go ahead and do it. Knock it out of the park. These videos are going to be super, super, super good for you to post. Now, the keys to success with these A through Z courses or the course videos, you want to give a complete A through Z roadmap, or at least perceive it as a complete A through Z roadmap. Second thing, you want to divide into clear chapters just to make it easier for people to understand. Number three, you want to use talking head intros for each section. Just helps with the personal aspect and, people knowing that you're teaching them. It's not just kind of like a bunch of edits. If you're doing a lot of editing in these videos, you want to contextualize the information. So showing a bunch of examples, showing people, examples on the screen or screenshots or anything that will help them understand pretty much what you are trying to teach them. And then if you can, release actual course content and not just fluff. If you do this, if you provide a ton of value without, of course, selling the complete implementation, your audience is going to love you. They're going to trust you because they're going to have made money with the free information that you gave them. So if they perceive your free information as really, really, really good, they're going to perceive the paid information to be even better. Then they're going to, they're going to buy your stuff. So if you can release little gems like this, 1,000,000% go ahead and do it. It's just going to make you selling your program significantly easier. So now with the free course, the reach is extremely, extremely good. You're going to get, a lot of views. You're usually going to get a ton of people, a ton of beginners, obviously, that are watching your videos. Reach is amazing for these videos. The selling power is extremely high. You can make a ton of sales with these free courses, especially if you push them out pretty consistently. And, they're getting a ton of views each and every time that you're doing it. As long as you can package it differently, if you can rip a ton of free courses, just teaching a bunch of people and nurturing them and getting a larger audience to watch your information, you're going to make a ton of money. And then difficulty, I would say it does take a lot of time to make these videos, and it's not technically easy to do it, but it's 1,000,000% worth it. So where I'm going to put this video at is proven to print money. You're going to make a ton of money if you post these kinds of videos. The very next thing are the whiteboard videos. Now, this is pretty much just another way of teaching your audience a certain topic or a certain subject inside of your business model or outside if it's, if it's a lifestyle thing. What it pretty much is it's either a physical or a virtual whiteboard that, you're writing down information, or you already have information written down on there and you're pretty much just elaborating on there. People who make these videos, they're usually drawing, annotating, or, just putting more information on the whiteboard. These are usually going to cover systems, frameworks, a bunch of different type of explanations. Again, it depends on the specific subject. But then, most importantly, these are just visual teaching aids. It's just another way, another method, a different packaged way to, transfer information and to teach, their audience something involving, their business model. So who is this for? This is for explaining more complex systems. At least I would say this is going to be more for explaining complex systems. Even if you have simple systems, I would still use a whiteboard. That's cool. But, the best way to do it is with a whiteboard. These are going to be more for professionals targeting a receptive ICP. ICP meaning ideal client profile, pretty much just meaning the audience, the specific audience type that you want to go ahead and target that will actually buy your product. So these, this type of video is usually going to target your ICP, a very, very specific person inside of your audience. And then of course, creators who usually educate their audience, they're going to be making these type of whiteboard videos. So the key to success, you want to include visual interaction, like, live drawing or, using a pen on your virtual or real whiteboard. Pretty much what I've been doing this entire time. In this video with my highlighter right here and then my cursor, you want to explain everything that's beyond the board. So again, for example, I have these little, little dots here, these little bullet points to go off of, but at the same time, I'm still elaborating. I'm still speaking more from what is on this, on these bullet points. And it's very important that you do so. If you don't, it's going to kind of be like you're just reading off of a script, and it's not going to come authentic. It's not going to come off as in like, what you're doing. You're just kind of reading what the paper says. So this right here, explaining beyond what's on the whiteboard, extremely important if you make these videos. Number three, you want to keep something moving on the screen, kind of like what I'm doing with my cursor again. And this is just for retention, just to help people watch the entire thing. And then number four, you want to use the whiteboard to facilitate, not replace the explanation. So pretty much the same thing as I explained with number two. You just want to elaborate. You want to go on and make sure that your audience or whatever you're speaking of is very easy to understand to the other person on the other side of the screen. Now, the reach for these types of videos, I'm going to say it's pretty moderate. It really just depends because it's probably going to be a lot more of a specific topic that you're talking about on these whiteboard videos. So I'm going to say that you're going to get a solid amount of views with these. Now for the reach, I'm going to say it's pretty moderate. And I say this because with these types of videos, you're usually going to have a lower, view rate with them, but it's going to be coming from a very specific type of audience. Or, if you're a bigger personal brand, if you're a bigger person inside of the industry, it can do the complete opposite. And a bunch of people are going to watch your video because you have authority in the space. You're teaching something that So it's pretty moderate. It's 50-50. Overall, I would say the reach is pretty good because no matter what, you're going to be targeting the right type of viewer. Selling power is through the roof. You're pretty much showcasing your expertise, explaining something to somebody who doesn't understand what you're doing. They're learning something. They're getting free value. When somebody does that, or, when you're the audience, or when you're, the consumer, and somebody teaches you something for free that's really valuable, or that you just simply think that is awesome, they're going to be a lot more inclined to actually buy your paid thing. Difficulty, they're not as easy to make as raw videos or something like that, but it's not really that hard. It really just takes a lot of planning, that I would think. It just takes planning. It just takes some time, but overall, it's not technically difficult to make. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put this style of content to proven to print money. If you make this type of content, you're going to get a solid amount of views, but you're going to be getting the right amount of views. You're going to be selling your audience very easily by teaching them. And then of course, it's not too hard to make. It's pretty simple. It just takes time. Now, the very next thing are talking head videos. This is something that will never go away in YouTube, especially in the info product space. And what this is, I really don't even need to explain what talking head videos are. But essentially, you're on camera delivering a ton of value. You can cover pretty much any topic with these videos. You can edit them for more clarity. Like you can be, sitting down like this. I can have, a couple edits explaining what I'm talking about just to make it a little bit more flashy, but you don't necessarily need them. And then of course, these videos are extremely flexible. You can pretty much do or teach anything involving a talking head video. So who is this for? Literally everybody, any niche, any topic, anybody can make these types of videos. Now, the keys to success, if you're going to go ahead and edit your talking head video, remember, edit to facilitate understanding. You don't want to edit to actually distract your audience and just to kind of have it as entertainment. Have it to help you pretty much convey your message and for your audience to understand your message a lot easier. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be editing your talking head videos. You don't want to over edit to the point where you're kind of annoying your audience. I see a lot of people kind of do this, and it's just like, it's too much. It's too flashy. It's too many edits. Like, show your face for once, right? So this is very important. You don't want to over edit. And then with the structure, you want to start with a good idea. If you don't have a good idea, the video won't do good. And then of course, have a good delivery and a script or a framework to follow. And then number 4, keep it very understandable and extremely clear. With these videos, when you were trying to teach somebody with you just simply talking, just keep it easy. Keep it simple for people to follow along, and your video will perform very, very, very good. Now, the reach for talking head videos, generally, they're pretty good. Again, it depends because it's such a vague type of video. You can really do anything with it, but if you can get really, really good with talking head videos where people just watch you talk, then these are going to be really good. You can get this out to a very big audience, and especially a very good quality audience as well. Selling power, it honestly just depends about the topic that you're talking about. But if you're talking about, teaching somebody, or if you're talking about teaching something about your business model, or kind of like this, what 30 million taught me about God, money, and etc. Like, the selling power is going to be very, very strong when it comes to that point, when it comes to subjects like this. But again, it depends. I would say it's moderate. Just depends on the actual topic. Difficulty, these are very simple to do. You don't have to do a ton of edits. If you are going to do any edits, it's going to be fairly simple. So if you can get really good at these talking head videos and you focus on the right subjects or the right topics to talk about, I'm going to put this in buy your Ferrari now. If you have authority, if you have results, and you're really, really good at just speaking to the camera, and you're really good at keeping retention and for people to listen, buy your Ferrari, because this is the easiest path to get people to know who you are, like you, and trust you. When somebody knows, likes, and trusts you, game over. You're going to make a crap ton of money. So I think a lot of you guys can actually argue that you can put this over here to it works, or either give it a shot. But honestly, for the most part, if you can execute with these talking head videos really good, and again, it's vague, you're going to make a ton of money. Just buy a Ferrari now. You're going to get people to really like you if somebody can watch a 15-20 minute video of you just speaking. So I'm going to go ahead, put it in buy your Ferrari now. I'm going to stand with that. I'm going to stick with that. If you guys have any other thoughts, go ahead and leave it in the comments, but that's where I'm going to stand with that. Now, the next thing is the organic VSL. Now, back in 2019, back in 2020, even 2021, these did really good because just the market in general wasn't as sophisticated. The online money market, just people didn't know about VSLs. They didn't know what it was, info products, selling information, right? So even though, these videos, VSL, organic VSLs are really good now in today's market, it's hard. It depends. And I'll get into that in a second. But what this is, again, again, it's a video sales letter pretty much on YouTube, not on your landing page. Now, these videos are disguised as valuable content and they're designed to sell. So because they are, strictly designed to sell, just like this Iman Gadzhi video up here, which, back a couple years ago, I don't know how long this video is or how old this video is, but a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I know I watched this video and it made me buy his course. So the videos did work very, very well. But again, it works best with unsophisticated audiences. At the time, I was unsophisticated. I didn't know. I was unaware. And yeah, it was an excellent video that they went ahead and made and executed. But again, it's only going to work for unsophisticated market. It cannot look like a VSL, an actual virtual sales letter. If it does, people are going to know. They're not going to watch your thing. They're going to be like, all right, I'm getting sold. People hate getting sold. So if you can get people to watch it without understanding they're getting sold, they're probably going to take action and you're going to be very, very happy. Number 2, it cannot feel salesy. Again, pretty much what I just said. Number 3, it must feel valuable at first. And number 4, frame it as education, not a sales call or not a sales video. Now with the reach with these VSLs, honestly, nowadays in 2025, they don't work as well. So with that being said, I would say the reach is pretty moderate. It's not as good as it used to be a couple years ago. Again, it just depends how you package it and how you present it as an actual YouTube video. But with that being said, it can do really good if you're a bigger creator. It can do all right if you're smaller. It really just depends. So I'm going to go with moderate for this one. The selling power, obviously, it's really high. The selling power is strong because the video is literally a virtual sales letter. So of course the selling power is going to be pretty big. And then difficulty, it just depends. It's usually 50-50. I'm going to say this is also moderate as well, just because you have to do a little bit of extra work to make sure that it doesn't present itself as a VSL, right? It's more educational. You're trying to hide the fact that you're selling somebody. So with that being said, it's a little bit more work with that. So I'm going to say a little bit more than moderate on the difficulty side. Now, where I am going to rank the VSL is up here and it works. It can definitely do good. It's going to make you some sales, but again, it's not as good as it used to be. If it was a couple years ago, I would have put in it and, proven to print money, maybe even buy your Ferrari now. But in today's age, it's definitely it's good. It works. You can go ahead and do it. Now, the very next thing are iPad notes. This is a newer kind of concept of YouTube strategies, a type of content that people are doing. Just about a year ago, people weren't really doing these as much, even 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now it's kind of coming to life. It's pretty much just a different package of the live breakdowns plus I would say the whiteboard videos. I would say it's a different package of this whiteboard video. But again, if it looks new, if you're presenting itself as something new, different, people like new, people like different, people don't know what they don't know. So, people are going to go ahead and click on these types of videos. So I think it's great. I love the format of, somebody sitting down and then you have half of the screen kind of cut off with a bunch of notes where you can actually look at the creator like Iman Gadzhi going ahead, talking to you exactly like this. And then, on this part of the screen, you can see his notes, you can see his annotations, what he's talking about. And yeah, overall, I like how it is. I think it's a great idea. I think you should definitely do this if you are teaching your audience something. And again, it's just pre-prepared visual on iPad. But again, what it is, you're just going over information on a virtual iPad and pretty much just showcasing what you're doing. Now, who this is for, I'm going to say it's a lot better for B2B professionals, just people who know what they're doing. If you're trying to sell B2B exactly like what I'm doing, honestly, with my content and my YouTube, it's going to work out the best. I think it's more valuable that way. It definitely does work for B2C. I think it's a great idea for you to go ahead and try it out with B2C. I don't think it's going to be bad at all, but primarily I do believe that B2B is going to be the best for this type of, this type of iPad notes. Now, the keys to success: number 1, prepare visuals, screenshots, diagram beforehand. Pretty much just come prepared. Number 2, you want to annotate live during the recording. So basically like what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not annotating, but I'm highlighting. You guys get what I mean. Number 3, you don't need to have this, but if you can have multiple like face cams or multiple shots of you talking, it just helps with retention. It'll make the video look cool. You don't need this, of course, but it would definitely help and it would definitely make the video better. And then number 4, your commentary is the value, not just the notes. So again, what I was saying, the same thing over here with the whiteboard video, right? You want to make sure that you just elaborate with what you're actually talking about, with what's on the screen, right? With these bullet points, I can go ahead and read off of these, but if that's the only thing I'm doing, I'm not conveying the message the best way. I'm not pretty much communicating what I'm trying to teach in the, in the right way. I'm not going to showcase myself as authority, as, hey, this guy knows what he's doing, right? So you want to make sure that you go ahead and elaborate with just, the notes that you have on the actual iPad. Now, the reach for the iPad notes style of content, I would say it's pretty moderate. It's pretty much the same as the whiteboard reach. You can get a lot of people who are going to watch the videos, yes, but at the same time, what you're going going to be talking about is usually very specific to your ICP. You're usually going to attract a better audience, a higher quality audience for the business model that you are doing. So again, it depends, but for reach, I'm going to go ahead and say moderate. Selling power, same thing as the whiteboard videos. You're showcasing something of value. You're showcasing, what you know, your authority. And again, you're teaching others something that they don't know. So selling power is extremely, extremely high. And the difficulty, it's not necessarily too hard to make. I would argue it just takes more time. Like, you already know what you're going to say. You know the topics or the subjects or, the methods that you were going to teach. It just takes time to make it look nice, of course, on the iPad and to set everything up. So where I'm going to go ahead and rank these iPad videos is Proven to Print Money. Again, very, very similar with the whiteboard video, but it's just kind of like a different form. It's a different packaging. So if you're doing a lot of these videos, most definitely do these ones as well. It just, mixes up the type of content or the type of production that you're doing. Overall, they're pretty much the same thing, but this is kind of like a newer age of doing the whiteboard video. But Proven to Print Money, if you can teach people, if you can get the right audience watching your video, a solid amount of the right audience, you have high selling power, you're teaching people something of value, and it's not too hard to make. Most definitely, I'm going to put it in Proven to Print Money. Now, the very next thing is podcast / interview videos. These ones are a little bit different. Obviously, I don't need to go in depth what these are. You guys know what podcasts are, but it's for a very specific type of creator. I feel like if you don't have authority, if you don't have something where, people would want to learn from you, if you don't have anything where others would either want that type of lifestyle, that type of materialistic product or item, or, the knowledge that you have, you're not going to get a ton of views on podcasts. People aren't going to know who you are. And if you're somebody who is obviously known in the space or your industry, absolutely rip these. These are going to be awesome. These are for, expanding your audience and pretty much hijacking your, the host's audience, getting your host's audience to, follow you. But at the same time, if you're not known, if you don't have anything of value, if you are not an authority figure in your space, these videos aren't really going to work. Now, if you are going to make these videos, the keys to success, you want to tease pretty much the highlights in the beginning of the intro. And then if you're the host, you want to have big guests. That's a no-brainer. You want to have high quality production, 100%. And then this is pretty much the same thing as number one. You just want to have a compelling, attention-grabbing opening. Now, the reach for podcasts or interviews, it really just depends. If you are a no-brainer, if you're somebody that is kind of different than everybody else in your industry in terms of, you're that big and you're that known, you need to do these podcasts 100%. But for most people, for 90% of creators online, not a lot of people know who you are. Not a lot of people know if you're somebody that they want to learn from. So I would say the reach are, it's usually pretty poor, if I'm going to be honest, with podcasts in general. Of course, disregarding if you have a big audience, if you are already a big, authoritative figure in the space. If not, the reach isn't going to be good at all. The selling power for podcasts, it's kind of poor. It's not as strong just because it's just, you're talking about what your experience, your results and stuff, but still somebody has to watch the podcast completely to even figure that stuff out. And usually the intro is just about you, who you are. And for majority of creators online, for majority of coaches, it's a harder piece of content to create, to sell people on. Usually it's just the introduction, just reaching as many people as possible. So for selling power, I'm going to go ahead and say poor. Difficulty, they're not difficult to make at all. Of course, as long as you are the person, the guest, which most of the time you are going to be the guest. If not, as the host, it's so-so. You just need to come up with some good questions. You're good at talking. So yeah, I would say it's pretty moderate with difficulty. Now, if you make this type of content and you are not an authoritative figure, or you're not somebody with results in your industry, or, people know you for having pretty good results in your industry, I'm going to say don't get your hopes up, little bro. I would even say you're cooked just because you're making a podcast that nobody wants to watch. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody, you don't have a reason to make people watch that video or make people watch a 2-hour long podcast, a 40-minute long podcast, an hour-long podcast. But if you do have results, you obviously have a space in your niche or in your market. I'm going to go ahead and say give it a shot. Why not? It can do pretty good or it won't. Really just depends. I would say it's hard. Don't get your hopes up, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I would pretty much in between right here. You can give it a shot, but again, don't get your hopes up. Now, the very next thing are audits. So this is basically when you have somebody that wants to learn your business model, or somebody that's already in your business model, and you pretty much just do a live review, or of course a recorded review of their business. You're helping them out. You're teaching them, X, Y, and Z, what to do. You're helping them out with their problems, giving them solutions. And overall, it's a great video idea. It's showcasing, what showcasing that, hey, I know what I'm doing. I am the guy. I'm the man to go to when you have issues in, your specific field. So overall, these videos are awesome. I really like them. Alex Ramonzi, he does a great job at these. And yeah, who this is for is pretty much anybody with some expertise release, anybody, again, that is an authoritative figure in your industry or your space, anybody who wants to showcase their credibility on honestly the highest level. And I say that because it's one thing to get yourself a ton of results, right? If you can get yourself a ton of results, cool. A lot of people showcase that online. But if you can showcase yourself getting a ton of other people results, if you can showcase you helping out other people in their specific situations, it's going to resonate with your audience, and it's going to show your audience, hey, I can do it too. I need, so-and-so's help. If you can do that, you will get so many people just wanting to give you their money, because this is the same thing with like testimonials. You can do audits or testimonial videos. It's just you're showing your audience, hey, this person in this specific situation, X, Y, and Z, he was able to make 10K a month with my help, with my coaching. We helped him fix X, Y, and Z. People are going to watch that. And for those who are in similar situations or in the exact same situation, they're going to be like, bro, they're going to feel left out. They're going to get FOMO, and it's really going to make them take action. And of course, it's going to showcase to your audience, you know what you're doing. You are a professional at it. The second thing, you want to audit live or pretty much appear like you are, seeing this person's problem the first time, as in like, hey, John came to me for help on this video. I don't know his issues. He's going to go ahead and break it down for me. We're going to go ahead and dive into that, right now. And then you kind of get into the issue, or you get into the problem, or what he needs help with. Pretty much you just want to present it as in like, hey, this is my first time I'm seeing this issue with, John. So that's what I mean with that. Number 3, you want to showcase your thinking process, of course, showcasing your authority, showcasing that you know what you're doing. 4, you want to give actionable fixes, like, hey, this is your issue. Your email sucks. Use ChatGPT, use this specific prompt. If this scenario happens, do this. If Y scenario happens, do that. Like, give actionable solution. And then number 5, allow viewers to compare themselves to the subject. Exactly what I was saying earlier. If you can really touch the audience's situation, if you can give, a situation of this person who is getting help, and it's very similar with majority of what your audience is experiencing, it's going to resonate with them. It's going to make them want to take action. And, it's really going to make them feel, compelled, and make them feel like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it too. If that's his issue and he solved it, he can solve my issues too. Now, the reach for these kinds of videos, they're pretty moderate. Again, it depends on your audience. It depends what specifically you're talking about. But if it can go so-so, it can go 50-50. It really just depends. If you're not as big, of course, the reach might not be as good. If you have a crazy testimonial, or you fix, so-and-so's business pretty crazy and the title is good, it can have a good reach. But primarily, you're not going to get a big audience with these types of videos. But I will say, you will get the right audience. You're going to get your ICP watching the videos, meaning you're going to get a higher quality viewer. You're going to get pretty much the pool of viewers that is watching your video. They're going to be higher quality. They're going to be high intent, which honestly is what you want compared to just, a bunch of people who's going to watch a video and not buy your thing. So overall, I think reach is excellent. I don't need to explain this. I pretty much already went on a ramp. Selling power, and then the selling power. I do not need to explain the selling power. These are crack. These are crazy. If you can showcase you helping somebody else out, people are going to run to you with their money, and all you're going to have to do is collect a bunch of cash. So if you can do this, it's you're going to sell on your audience, or you're going to sell your audience on yourself, your product, and selling power is huge. Difficulty, these aren't really too difficult. Again, if you know what you're doing, if you've solved so many problems beforehand, you've done the thing that you are teaching or helping your client or whoever this person is with, you've done it many times, it's not going to be too difficult. You might just need a lot of planning and scheduling to do to help the person out, but overall it's not too difficult at all. So where exactly I would rank these types of videos, going all the way up here to buy your Ferrari now, because again, the reach, it may not be great, but you're attracting an audience that wants to learn how to improve their business, how to start this business model, how to make X, Y, and Z money in time frame, right? So the reach is excellent in terms of you're attracting the right audience. Selling power, I don't even need to talk about that. If somebody watches your full video and they learn a ton, and they saw you help out somebody else make a ton of money or fix all of the issues in their business, I promise you they're going to go to you as well. Difficulty, it's not too hard to make these videos. It might take some time with planning, but yeah, these videos, if you can make a ton of these and if you can get really, really good at these, buy your Ferrari now. And then the very last thing is the My Story videos. These are self-explanatory. You see them happen a ton. You see a lot of people post these types of videos. How freelance brand scaling made me a millionaire at 20 years old, how I went from $0 to 20 million at 23, how I became a millionaire in my 20s, my story, how to become a millionaire in 365 days, step by step. Okay. This is more of like an A through Z guide, but still it's like, my story, how to become, millionaire in X amount of time, or how I did it. Right. So these videos are super, super powerful, super strong. And again, it's just showcasing your story, your transformation, how you went from point A to point B. Now, these videos can be a lot more raw and kind of like a lot more authentic, just normal talking head videos, or you can have them with, more documentary style production. You can have them with a bunch of clips, a bunch of editing of you kind of going through the whole process. Really just depends. But yeah, either one would work. And then in these videos, it's super important. You want to have a lot of emotional storytelling. This is super important just because the audience that you're going to be attracting with this type of video, with these kinds of videos, usually new people who have never done what you're doing or want to get into it. So you showcasing to them and, involving a bunch of emotion into it. I was in your position. If you can do it, if I can do it, you can do it too. It's really going to move the needle for your audience to buy your product. And then the last thing, just the mechanism as a driver, of course, the main goal of this is to sell the mechanism. I went from, 0 to 20 million at 23 years old from trading, from freelance brand scaling, from SMA, whatever your mechanism is. Who this is for, those with significant success or great come up stories. It doesn't have to be, crazy, $1 million at 20 years old stories, but it just has to be a good story, right? I was homeless and then, now I'm making 10K a month. That in itself is a great story. Even if it's like dropped out of high school and now I'm making 20K a month, dropped out of college, now I'm making 10K a month, how I did it. Those stories are still great. As long as you have a great story and you can frame it and you can structure it pretty good, the video will rip, the video will do amazing. The keys to success, you want to make it emotionally driven. Again, emotion will drive these types of videos because you're pretty much resonating with the audience. You're showcasing to the audience. I was in your position too, bro. If I can do it, you can do it too. Gonna get people to take action and pretty much to move the needle. You want to include family and personal elements. Be real personal with these videos. You want to showcase who you are authentically. So again, it's your story. Showcase who you are, what you went through. And if you can do that, you're going to have a great video. Number 3, you want to make it clear of the mechanism that made the difference in your life. I went from, point A to point B. What is the bridge in between there? The mechanism. SMMA, freelance brand scaling, trading, reselling, whatever it is, Amazon FBA, and etc. You want to make sure that you have a clear before and a clear contrast. And then of course, a relatable struggle. And this doesn't mean like, oh, I need to pretend like I was struggling beforehand. No, it's just like, mentally like, man, I knew I wasn't in the position that I was beforehand. And I knew I needed a switch. I knew the 9-to-5 job or the 9-to-5 route wasn't for me. Dropped out. Even if you didn't drop out, you can still talk about your mental struggles. And that in itself is super relatable to 99% of people who want to get into online business. Now, the reach with these types of videos are extremely, extremely high. You're usually going to get a lot of people, again, who are new, who have never, done your thing before, done your business model, done your mechanism. They're beginners to online business, or they know they want to make a lot of money. They don't know how. They see some young, thug at 20 years old making millions of dollars, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, whatever the age is, and they want to do it too. So they're going to click on the video, the reach, you're going to get great reach with these kinds of videos. And then the selling power, it's extremely, extremely high as long as you do it the right way, as long as you construct it as in, point A, this is where I'm at, very relatable to the audience, where the audience is right now, the bridge in between to get them from point A to point B, or from, how you went from point A to point B is the mechanism. As long as you can make that very clear, and then of course showcase point B, where you're at today, cool cars, watches, nice dinners, family good, girlfriend or boyfriend if you're a girl watching this video, yada yada yada, all of that, the selling power will be insane. And this in itself is practically a VSL, but you're not going to have as much selling intent. You kind of just let your story and your relatability, do the selling for you and, do its magic. And then the difficulty, it does need a lot of planning beforehand to make a video like this, to make it really compelling and to make it really, really strong to resonate with your audience. Or you can kind of do it a lot more organic and kind of just, talk with a talking head video, nothing really edited. It depends, but I would say the difficulty is a little bit lower than moderate, just because you need to think about this a lot. You need to make sure that it's constructed the right way. Overall, it's not hard. It takes a solid amount of time. Difficulty, I would say a little bit lower than moderate. Overall, if you can execute these videos, I would argue that it's in between buy your Ferrari now and proving to print money, just because the relatability, you being extremely vulnerable in this video and genuinely just showcasing how you did it, it's going to get people over the line, right? It's going to get people to be like, if I can do it, so can you. And that's the message that you want to get your audience to truly, truly believe. And with that being said, that's going to go ahead and conclude all of the different YouTube types that, the biggest people in the game are doing. And just to give a little review, we didn't have anything in your cook, thankfully. Again, I told you guys, this was going to be the best content strategies that the biggest dogs in the game are doing. So I'm not going to give you anything that's bad. That's, that's just not good for you to use. That's why there's nothing in the your cook situation. So just before you say thank you to me in the comments, you're welcome. We did have about 1.5 in the don't get your hopes up, little bro. It's just content that you can try, but just do it if you're having fun. I would do it if, if you really want to, if you really think that it would be a good video and you can have fun doing it, you're going to be naturally you're going to feel great about about it. So only do these, just don't get your hopes up. Again, just have fun when you're doing these types of videos. And then in Give It a Shot, we had about one video. Continue to try it out, continue to give it shots of this, type of video, the raw content. But again, don't expect nothing. Maybe it's just the season, or maybe, you need to get better at raw and authentic content. Really just depends. Just continue to give it a shot. Don't expect nothing. It can go really good, or it can go just whatever. And then we had one in It Works. Definitely, like if you wanted to do a VSL video for YouTube, do it. It works. You're chilling. We had 4 in Proven to Print Money. Again, I told you guys this is going to be the best types of content on YouTube that the biggest dogs are doing in the game. So of course we had a bunch up here in the green. Proven to Print, you had the, what is that? The course, the free course videos, you had the whiteboard videos, you had the iPad, and then the My Story videos. All of these videos, if you can execute on them very well, you're going to make a ton of money. And then of course, if you want to buy your Ferrari now, okay, make these types of videos. You want to make the audit videos or the testimonial videos. You want to make really, really good executed talking head videos. And then of course, the breakdown videos of you doing the business model, or, you showcasing your methods in real time. Go ahead, make these videos, get really good at them, make a ton of them, and text me on Instagram, at raf.gonzalez with 2 Z's. You're welcome. And send me a picture of your Ferrari when you execute on these videos, and do a ton of them. Now that is going to wrap up this video. If you made it to the very end, I just want to let you know I appreciate you like crazy. Taking the time out of your day, to watch one of my videos. Thank you so much. Genuinely, I really do appreciate it. And if you like this style of content, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see next. If it's good, if it's bad, give me some feedback. Why not? And then of course, if you do want help inside of your own coaching business to do something like this to help you out with content, for me to go ahead, help you make scripts, help you make frameworks, and all of that good stuff, go ahead. You can just leave a comment down below or DM me on Instagram. Again, my Instagram is at raf.gonzalez with 2 Z's. I'll leave that link to that video. It's completely for free on YouTube down below as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.